Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take the sources you've shared and really break them down into something useful. Today, we're tackling a supplement that has, well, let's say a bit of a reputation problem, creatine.
That's definitely true. You say creatine and people instantly picture, huge muscles, the gym scene. It's been stuck in that muscle building box for ages.
But the research we've looked at today paints a very different picture. I mean, it's not just studied, it's one of the most studied supplements out there. And the benefits go way beyond muscle. We're talking brain function, heart health, even support for aging.
Absolutely. It's kind of a whole system health enhancer. So maybe we should start with the real basics. Just what is it? Understanding that helps make sense of all the effects.
Good idea.
Okay, so technically creatine is a peptide. It's a small chain made from 3 amino acids: arginine, glycine, and methionine.
And our bodies make it, right? It's not just something you buy in a tub.
Exactly. Your liver does most of the work producing it, and then it gets stored. Now, this is important. Yeah, most goes to your muscles, but a really significant amount gets stored and used by your brain. That's key.
Right. So our goal today is pretty straightforward. We want to explore all those other benefits, the ones that can really help you, the learner, in different ways. And crucially, we need to debunk some of those really persistent myths, the kidney damage scares, the whole cycling thing. Okay, let's jump into what, for me, was the most surprising link. Moving from bench presses to brain power, the sources are full of evidence for creatine's nootropic effects. How does that even work?
Well, it boils down to energy, specifically ATP adenosine triphosphate. Your brain uses a ton of energy, even though it's small, especially for complex thinking. Creatine basically helps your brain cells regenerate that ATP fuel much faster.
So it's literally like giving your most energy-hungry organ a supercharger, and you can actually measure the difference. What gets better?
Oh yeah, you see real, measurable improvements in what we call executive functions. So things like your short-term memory, holding info while you work with it, reaction speed, even things like balance and mood seem to stabilize. It just shores up the brain's energy resources.
And there's a really relevant point here for, well, modern life. The sources mention creatine helping with that awful mental fog, that sluggish, hard-to-focus feeling, which seemed to pop up a lot after COVID hit back in 2020, 21.
Right, and think about how useful that is for you, the learner. Imagine you're pulling an all-nighter, maybe for an exam or a big project deadline. You're sleep deprived. Creatine seems to help you maintain mental effort under that kind of stress. It fights off that rapid cognitive exhaustion, letting you keep processing things when you're running on empty.
That sounds almost too good. But the studies actually put numbers on it, didn't they? It wasn't just subjective feeling sharper.
No, not at all. They measured improved processing speed, better working memory, that ability to juggle information in your head, and even, interestingly, better scores on some intelligence tests.
Wow. And is this just for, young students cramming? Or does it apply more broadly?
That's a great question. And no, it's not just for the young. The sources were clear. These cognitive benefits, especially memory improvements, showed up in elderly participants too, sometimes after only 2 weeks of taking it. So it's a benefit across the age spectrum.
Okay, that energy link is a perfect bridge back to creatine's home turf muscle. But let's reframe it, not just about getting bigger, but about recovery and resilience.
Exactly. We need to look beyond just lifting weights. Taking creatine, maybe before or after any tough workout, actually speeds up muscle recovery. And that's huge for just staying consistent.
How does it do that? The sources mentioned something about damage markers.
Yeah, it seems to decrease the levels of certain markers in your blood that indicate muscle damage. So think about endurance folks, marathon runners, triathletes, even serious hikers. This could mean less post-exercise soreness and inflammation. Helps you get back out there sooner, right?
Makes sense. Less pain, more training.
And if you zoom out, this protective thing is really important for fighting sarcopenia, that muscle loss that happens as we age. It helps seniors maintain mass, but it's also useful for younger people if they're, say, stuck on the couch with an injury or maybe couldn't get out much during lockdowns. It seems to slow down that muscle wasting when you're inactive.
I thought the fasting connection was interesting too. Creatine helping with glycogen stores.
Right. Glycogen is your muscle-stored energy. If you practice intermittent fasting but still want to lift weights, your body dips into those stores. Creatine helps keep those glycogen levels higher so you can still perform well, even when fasted. Maintain your strength.
And we can't ignore its original claim to fame, strength. The numbers were pretty impressive. What did the sources say? 8 to 14% increase.
Yeah, somewhere in that range, 8 to 14% improvement in strength and lifting performance when combined with training. It's significant.
So what's going on there? Is it just the ATP energy boost we talked about earlier?
That's a big part of it, definitely more ATP energy. But it also seems to reduce levels of something called TNF-alpha. Think of TNF-alpha as like a signal for cell stress and breakdown. By lowering it, creatine might reduce the damage from intense exercise, allowing muscles to repair and adapt better.
Okay, and I saw something about the lactate threshold too. What does that mean for the average person, not necessarily an elite athlete?
It's basically about delaying that burning feeling, that fatigue that makes you stop. Lactic acid builds up during intense effort. Creatine helps push back the point where it accumulates faster than you can clear it. So you can go harder for longer, whether that's lifting weights or, just running up a flight of stairs.
Makes sense, pushing fatigue back.
Oh, and one more thing for those really focused on gaining mass.
Hmm.
The sources mentioned a synergy. Apparently, combining creatine with about 2 grams of beta-alanine showed even better results for muscle gain than creatine by itself.
Okay, let's zoom out again. Beyond just muscles and workouts, let's talk longevity, systemic health. How does creatine fit into overall metabolic health and resilience?
This is where it gets really interesting as a potential longevity tool, especially for people over 65 dealing with that age-related muscle loss, sarcopenia. The sources suggest a clear strategy: combine creatine with resistance training. The results are pretty consistent: more muscle mass, healthy weight gain from that muscle, and just better functional strength.
And for seniors maybe just starting exercise or perhaps recovering from something, there was a practical tip about training style. Super slow training.
Exactly. It's a safer approach. You use lighter weights, maybe around 55% of your max, but you perform each rep very slowly, like 15 to 30 seconds per rep. It reduces joint stress, but still gives the muscles that time under tension needed for growth. Good for beginners or rehab.
And absorption can be an issue for older adults, right? The sources had some advice there too.
Yeah, they suggested that instead of just whey protein, combining creatine with essential amino acids might be better absorbed and healthier for older systems. And adding proteases, those are digestive enzymes, could help break down animal protein more effectively, which sometimes gets harder with age.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. Cardiovascular health. I was surprised to see creatine linked to things like cholesterol.
Me too, initially. But yeah, the research indicates it can help lower triglycerides and total cholesterol, specifically that LDL, the bad cholesterol.
And what about homocysteine? That sounds vaguely familiar, but
Bad.
yeah, high homocysteine isn't great. It's an amino acid that, in high levels, can irritate blood vessel linings, especially the delicate ones in the brain. It's sometimes linked to high meat intake or low B12. The sources showed creatine, especially when taken with a multivitamin, helped reduce those levels.
So better vessel health. And speaking of vessels, it seemed to improve blood flow too.
That's right. They measured better blood flow in places like forearms and calves. The thinking is it might be related to an increase in nitric oxide, which helps blood vessels relax and widen. Good for circulation.
Okay, and the last piece of this systemic puzzle, testosterone. That caught my eye.
Definitely. When people combine creatine with consistent strength training for about 10 weeks, studies showed an average testosterone increase of around 15%. 15% naturally is. Well, that's pretty significant, especially now when low T is becoming more common in both men and women. And healthy testosterone levels are linked to vitality longevity. So boosting it naturally with exercise and maybe creatine seems like a smart move. All right, let's pivot to the problems. We really need to tackle those myths that scare people away from trying something potentially beneficial. First up, the old classic, you have to cycle creatine, right? Take breaks.
Ah, yes, the cycling myth. It's pure gym folklore, honestly, and it needs to go. Especially at the standard dose, like 5 grams a day. Long-term studies just don't back up the need for cycling. Where did it come from? Probably from early bodybuilders taking, 4 or 5 times that dose. Maybe then you need caution, but not at 5G.
Okay, the big one then, kidneys.
Hmm.
This is the major fear, isn't it? If I take this every day for years, am I damaging my kidneys?
Let's be really clear here. For people with healthy kidneys to start with no pre-existing issues, the scientific consensus is overwhelmingly strong. Continuous long-term use, even for years, has been proven safe, repeatedly.
So why the persistent fear? It seems rooted in a naming confusion.
Exactly. It's all about creatinine. Okay,
Yeah.
so your body naturally breaks down creatine into creatinine, which your kidneys filter out. Doctors measure creatinine levels as an indicator of kidney function. Now, if you take extra creatine, you'll naturally make a bit more creatinine. Your levels might go up slightly on a blood test, but, and this is the key, that rise doesn't mean your kidneys are damaged. It just reflects the extra creatine being processed. It's a false alarm, essentially.
Got it. Okay, next myth. Water retention. Am I going to look puffy?
Only if you go crazy with the dose, like those old school bodybuilders taking 20-25 grams a day. At the standard 5 grams, any minor water retention happens mostly inside the muscle cells, which is actually beneficial for performance. You won't look bloated.
Right. And what about the hair loss concern? The idea that boosting testosterone means more DHT, which causes hair loss.
Okay, so DHT, dihydrotestosterone, is linked to male pattern baldness if it builds up too much on the scalp. But the solution isn't necessarily to avoid boosting testosterone, which, as we said, has benefits. It's about making sure your body clears DHT properly. And that clearance job, that's mainly handled by the liver. So optimizing liver function is arguably more important than avoiding creatine if hair loss is a concern.
Interesting angle. Okay, quick practicalities. When's the best time to take it?
Ideally.
Hmm.
Right after your workout seems to give a slight edge for muscle gain speed. But honestly, if that's not convenient, taking it first thing in the morning is totally fine. The big warning is try not to take it late at night. That extra cellular energy could definitely mess with your sleep.
Good tip. And finally, can I just eat a lot of fish and pork? Get it naturally.
Well, you can get some creatine from food. Animal products are the best sources. Herring, fatty fish, pork are pretty high. But to get the kind of doses used in studies that show these cognitive and systemic benefits, you'd have to eat really huge, frankly impractical amounts of meat every single day.
Yeah.
Supplementing is just far more efficient and reliable for hitting those levels.
Okay, let's tie this all together for you, the listener. We've covered a lot of ground. What's the big takeaway here?
I think when you stack it all up, the brain benefits, the memory protection, the heart health support, the hormone balance, plus the muscle and recovery aspects, it really makes creatine one of the most, well, complete and scientifically backed supplements out there. And it's generally very economical, too. It's just a solid investment in overall resilience.
And maybe a final thought to connect all these dots. All those benefits combined, preserving muscle, boosting strength, that cellular energy uptick, they all contribute to something really powerful, don't they?
Yeah, they ultimately lead to a faster resting metabolism.
Exactly. And a faster resting metabolism means your body burns more energy even when you're not active. That can be a huge help in maintaining a healthy weight and just having more energy overall long after you've finished your workout or met that deadline. It makes all this knowledge really stick.